Hi everybody, this is Anne. The reaction caused by the Mocha Diffusion process is one of my most favorite pottery techniques to watch. Mocha Diffusion decorating is a process where liquids on the extreme ends of the pH scale mixed with a colorant are added to the more neutral, watered-down slip coating. This results in the spreading out of the colorant into beautiful branches. In this video, I'll make several recipes for the mocha tea using different acids, then create 3 mochaware projects. The first thing I needed to do was prepare the slip. I dipped into my reclaimed clay bucket, which was full of fine porcelain remnants. I slaked it down with water, immersion blended it, strained out any chunks, and stirred it until the slip was the consistency of a thin yogurt. The supplies I'll be using to make the mocha tea are chewing tobacco, acetone, which is a fingernail polish remover, and Diet Coke. I also needed a powerful colorant that wouldn't fire out with the hot kiln temperature, so I used black mason stain. I'll make the tobacco tea first. For this, I needed to extract the acid from the leaves. I took out a couple of tablespoons of the tobacco and put it in a container. I mixed it with about a 1/4 cup of water. Upon stirring, the water immediately turned into tobacco juice. I used a small strainer to strain out the chunks. As I'm working with some caustic elements, notice I'm wearing protective gloves. For the mocha tea, I added a 1/4 teaspoon of the mason stain to 3 1/4 teaspoons of the tobacco juice and stirred it together. I'm going to test this before putting it on a piece of pottery. This is a leather hard tile. The wetter the clay, the less absorbent it is, and the longer the slip will stay wet, which you'll see is very important for the process to work. I brushed on a very wet coat of slip to the tile surface, then quickly touched the tip of a hacky brush filled with the tea to the slip. The acid pushes the colorant away from the center, creating dendritic-like fingers. Very cool. Using the same mason stain colorant and percentages, I switched out the tobacco with the Coca-Cola, which has phosphoric acid plus carbonation in it. I stirred that around really well. Again, using a leather hard tile, I added a wet slip layer to the top. I then added the Coke recipe. I got a little branching out, but not as much as I wanted, so I added a little more to the center point. Oh, that's much better. Sometimes using the Coca-Cola, the carbonation explodes out at the ends of the branches, but I don't see that here. As the slip was still wet in areas, I thought I'd do a couple of more. The drier the surface, the less reaction you'll have, as you can see in each successive drip, the last 2 drops having little to no reaction at all. Your window for the branching out process is only as long as it takes for the slip to dry, so you have to work fast. Let's do the same recipe but switch out the acid again. This time I used the acetone. I stirred it around really well. The acetone is a bit tricky. If you dip a totally dry brush in the acetone tea and then drop it onto the wet slip, the acetone has a strong reaction to the slip and pushes it outward before the colorant has a chance to ride the wave with it. I found that adding just a little water to the acetone and mixing it together before adding it to the slip will help. So let's try it again now. Now there's that sunburst I was looking for. The acetone has a very strong reaction. That's my favorite so far. I was thinking, since Coke is 90% water, it'd be fun to make the acetone tea, but instead of adding water, add some Coke to the mix and see what that does. Okay, nice sunburst, but I probably didn't mix the colorant as thoroughly as I should. Let's go again. Oh, beautiful. Double sunburst. Oh, this is too much fun. If two acids worked well, let's go crazy and add a little of the tobacco juice to the acetone and Coke mixture and see what that does. That is totally cool. Not only do you get the sunburst, but you get the branching fingers out to the sides. I wanted a fun-shaped piece of pottery that also had a flat surface to highlight that sunburst effect. I thought this leather-hard shell-shaped piece would be fun as the frame for it. I added that wet layer of slip to it, then used the last recipe mixture I made with all three of the acids in it. The sunburst makes the shell look like it just came out of the ocean. Jim says it looks like a jellyfish. Now let's see if I can create the sunbursts, but on a leather-hard curved surface. I used a flat brush to coat a round jug vase with a wet, thick layer of slip. This time I used the acetone Coke mixture. The acetone is such a fast-moving and drying acid that it doesn't have time to run all the way down to the pot, making the sunburst more possible even on a curved surface. I also like that the more vertical the surface, the more oval the effect. This time, I wanted to create long runs down the vertical surface. I tried dipping the top of a leather-hard vase in the slip this time for a nice even coat. I used the tobacco leaf recipe this time. The tobacco tea doesn't dry as fast as the acetone and will travel down the length of the pot as long as the slip is still wet. You can see that my last few trees almost look like telephone poles. I got some really nice splaying out of the branches on the wetter slip trees. Really beautiful results. Earlier, I made a few more pieces and glazed and fired them. This one I experimented on a leaf-shaped piece. I added a little blackberry wine mason stain to the black for the tea. I used an eggshell wash around the mocha spots and fired it to cone 5 for this look. Now here's a piece with the acetone and Coke mixture where the carbonation from the Coke did explode out from the branches and down the pot. It looks like a fireworks display to me. Here's another one done with the tobacco to make the trees. I only glazed the inside and top with the black glaze. I was able to fire that sample seashell piece that we made earlier. I decided to add more slip around the edges and let the tea do its thing. The organic nature of the diffusion works well with the organic nature of the shell. Now here's another leaf sample where again I added more of the branching out along the sides of the leaf. That could have come right off of the forest floor. I know someone will ask what clear glaze looks like over top of the mocha, so I glazed this one with clear glaze over the top. What do you think about that? Here are two other sample pieces I created for this video. I just finished them with black glaze around the top and bottom borders, but left the middle sections without glaze to speak for themselves. This process can be a little tricky. As you figure out how to decorate on soft leather-hard clay, learn how wet the slip needs to be, and learn how to work with the mocha tea, my advice is to make a lot of sample tiles, take good notes, and you'll get the hang of it quickly. Thanks to the newest members of our Little Street Pottery Research Facility team. If you'd like to join the team and earn a title, click on the Super Thanks button or the link to buy me a coffee. It also really helps us out if you hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. See you next time in the studio.